been an eventful period in the transfer window for City recently. Of course, this summer 6 signings have been made, and there's also been a few notable departures recently. Jack Grealish and James McAtee have now left, but Pep Guardiola is still keen to see his squad trimmed before that September 1st deadline. And one player who's been heavily linked with an exit is goalkeeper Ederson, with Galatasaray said to have made their first official bid around 10 million euros for him over the weekend. City is said to want a higher fee, sort of closer to the 25 million euro mark. And both clubs sort of remain in talks to see if they can come to an agreement. And should Man City agree to sell Ederson, the shot stopper they wish to target is believed to be PSG's Gianluigi Donnarumma, who looks increasingly likely to leave this summer after sort of a fallout over his contract, and he's been excluded from Luis Enrique's squad. Now, of course, Donnarumma, he may not be the greatest with his feet in comparison to someone like Ederson, but he is considered as one of the best shot stoppers around. And I think most City fans will admire that about him, as well as
Yeah.
his leadership qualities. He's a winner. He's won a lot at PSG, and the fact that he's only 26 as well, which is relatively young for a goalkeeper these days. But having said all that, Stephen, what do you think the potential arrival of Donnarumma at City means for James Trafford, who, of course, arrived early this summer? He made his debut against Wolves, and he was persuaded to join City in the hope of soon becoming City's number one for years to come. Should he be concerned now if Donnarumma is to join City?
Yeah, I'd be disappointed for him. I don't believe that he would have no idea that City would pursue a keeper of Ederson when I think City and Hugo Viana, City's new director of football, I don't think they would have lied to him. I think they would have told him there's always a chance of elite players coming in. And I'd only guess James Trafford, given the person he is, given his confidence, would back himself in a battle against anyone. That's why he's at Manchester City in the first place. And I think there's an element of if you come for City, it isn't going to be easy. And I know it's different for goalkeepers because goalkeepers, there's not as many slots. There's one. There's one chance to get on the pitch. But I still think there's an element of, well, this is, the bed you made, you got to lie in it because it is Manchester City. It's not, Burnley. It hasn't got extensive Premier League experience and coming in and immediately displacing City's number one, be it Ederson or Donnarumma, was never going to be the task that he was given straight away. I think he was always going to have to wait a little bit, and the rumours that he was going to be number two behind Ederson for this season anyway. Having said that, we've just watched him, and it's annoying to watch him be so comfortable against Wolves. Look, he's not 10 out of 10 with the ball at his feet, but he's pretty good. And he didn't do anything wrong. And he played a lovely pass to Riders for that third goal. And he also looked really good at commanding his area. A couple of chances were offside, but they were still big saves. And one in particular, I felt that maybe Ederson might have not got a hand to because it was a really powerful save from a one-on-one when he spread himself nicely. And he was commanding and powerful. Um, and he looked, for all intents and purposes, Manchester City's number one. He is on the back of the shirt. He looked like he belonged there. And that is the sort of reaction you want to see, I guess, from a young goalkeeper surrounded by rumours by this established keeper coming in because all he can do is cliche, is play as well as he can and hopefully get the shirt. I would love to see him as the City's number one. I am incredibly biased. I've been watching James Trafford in the academy for an awful long time. I know how much he loves Manchester City. And I just prefer that story. It's more romantic to me. Having said that, Gianluigi Donnarumma is one of the greatest. He's nearly a living legend. He's been playing for 10 years and he's only 26 years old. He's one of the best keepers around. It would, of course, maybe need a slight tweak to how he play because he's not going to pass it comfortably at all across his back line or whatever in the way that sort of other keepers can. But we can't deny that his pedigree is one of immense quality. We've seen him come alive for PSG in the Champions League, nice as they won the treble. We've seen him essentially win shootouts for Italy. Donnarumma is a special keeper on his day. I think Trafford may be more suited to Donnarumma, but I'm not going to sit here and complain if we sign a keeper of a quality of Donnarumma. I can only presume Guardiola's thought about this. I'm sure he's thought about the differences between Donnarumma and Ederson, and he understands that there'll have to be a change of plan. And to be honest, I would suspect we've already seen it anyway. City were much more direct. They were much more willing to attack quicker. I think they probably know that they can't build it up quite as slowly and as cautiously with Donnarumma if he comes in. And they're quite happy giving it to the midfielders and being a little bit more direct with it, because that's the only way to be. See a little bit of possession, but be more threatening on the counter or releasing the runners. So I think, yeah, Donnarumma coming in. I'm very happy with James Trafford. I think he's fantastic, but he's a remarkable goalkeeper. So I don't think we can really lose there as City fans either. Donnarumma, you know, he's great, or if he doesn't click and he has a disaster, which would be terrible, you play James Trafford and we've got him anyway. So yeah, two great keepers is better than one.
Yeah, I mean that's right. But do you think that maybe Guardiola can keep both Donnarumma and Trafford happy if Donnarumma is to arrive? Of course, we've seen in recent years, taking Arsenal for example, they had both Aaron Ramsdale and David Raya competing for the #1 jersey there, and it ultimately didn't really work out. Arteta favoured Raya, and Ramsdale became second choice. Soon wanted to leave to gain regular first team football elsewhere. Is that something that maybe you would fear that could happen at City with Donnarumma and Trafford?
Yeah, there's always that fear. As I was saying, I do believe he was aware that he was going to be number two this season anyway, so nothing's really changed there. Ederson was always going to be ahead of him, and like it's not like you get no football when you play for Manchester City. I'm looking at I'm going to look at Ortega's stats now, and Ortega's played an awful lot of football for Manchester City, despite being number two. You know, he played it's like 30 odd games in 2 seasons, which is not like an incredible amount, but it's not nothing. In fact, he's had 56 appearances for City over 3 seasons, is it now?
I
Or
think
is
it
it?
is.
Yeah, it's three
Yeah, I think
seasons.
it is. Yeah,
But the appearances have been going up a little bit. So he's not like he's sat there playing 3 or 4 games a season. You know, there's roughly 20 games a season there. And the first season he barely played at all because he was mainly it was a treble season where Ederson was more or less omnipresent other than the cup runs. So James Trafford is going to play probably 15 games this season, 10, 15 games, presuming City go far in cup competitions, and there'll be a game, there'll be the odd game that we don't expect him to play for whatever reason. So he will get some football. Um, as I said, I think he expected to be behind a new #1 or Ederson anyway, so nothing's really changed there. And he's training with some of the best in the world. He'll improve, and I understand it might be an issue come the summertime, but he might be, happy enough to give it another year or so. Because Guardiola's only got 2 years left on his contract, of course. He might be willing to see where, the next manager takes him and hang around. And look, if he goes, if we sell him, ultimately City paid about 14 million profit net for him after the buy-in clause and the sell. So it's not like it's a total disaster financially. It would be a real shame because I think it's got the quality, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. He talks an awful lot about wanting to be the best and play with the best and so on, and he's got to back up his talk really to an extent. If you really do think you're going to be Manchester City's #1, he said that publicly multiple times, even as a young lad, then you've got to be better than Donnarumma.